Welcome into Suite 301, coming to you live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We are here to give you the latest news and updates about Colt Club Sports. You can watch all of our broadcasts on our Suite 301 page and on our Facebook pages and on YouTube.
Great job, Jimmy. Remember to like our Facebook pages and follow our Twitter accounts for the latest news and media. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel for videos from around our leagues and to watch previous episodes of Suite 301. Let's jump right into it. Lots going on. Office is buzzing. It's busy around here. Let's jump right into basketball. We got Matt Hazy, Director of Men's Club Basketball Operations, on set with us. Big weekend of basketball this past weekend with men's and women's regionals happening. Matt, before we do get into that, the regional results and who will be in the national championship tournament, let's start with a top 20 poll.
Yeah, absolutely. So after the Pacific Regional events, UCLA overtakes USC Cardinal for that number 1 spot here going into the national championship. Penn State moves up to 2 after defeating Albany. Cardinal, as you see, drops down to 3. We have UConn at 4 after they take down a tough Boston College team at the buzzer as well. And then we have Boston College fall there in the 5.
So I see the top 5 there, or excuse me, the top 6 are participating in the national championship. Who's left out on that top 8 that is in the national championship?
So we have James Madison and Florida State there in 13 and 14.
Ooh, all right.
Both jumping up, after winning their respective regionals. So. And then a couple other newcomers into the top 20 as well. Albany made it to the North Atlantic Regional Championship. They ended up losing to Penn State, but they had a great tournament. And then Indiana moving up into that 20 spot as well. Awesome.
And then one more left, right?
Yep.
Final top 20 that'll be coming out after the national championship as concluded. As I said before, really exciting weekend for not only men's but also women's club basketball in the NCBBA. Regionals taking place. Why don't you take us through? Let's start with the Great Lakes. Let's go through that bracket and see Xavier representing the Great Lakes as the Great Lakes Regional Tournament champion. But a lot of good games there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like in that first round, they were all decently close. Unfortunately, Butler could not make it due to weather conditions they were having out there. So that moved Central Michigan into that second round, but they took down Indiana and then eventually lost to Xavier in that championship game.
Okay. Well, congrats to the was it the Musketeers?
Yeah.
From Xavier participating in that. And fun fact, I was looking at this. I do believe there's a player for Xavier, Connor. I believe his name is Connor. But his dad coached me.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder if they'll be making the trip up. So congratulations to Xavier. Connor Madelon. His last name's Madelon. But anyway, let's move on to the Mid-Atlantic Regional Tournament. James Madison coming out on top there. I know that was a big win over Virginia Tech in that championship game.
Yeah, absolutely. So James Madison kind of a little bit, I guess you could say, a surprise out of the Mid-Atlantic, taking down Virginia Tech, who's been number 1 in the Mid-Atlantic South champions. An early exit for number 2 Villanova seed, over James Madison, took them out in the second round. So yeah, just happy somebody else stepped up and made some upsets, and they're participating in the national championship.
Moving on to the New England, UConn Just absolutely fantastic news for UConn. You know, they obviously win the men's national championship last year, but have a chance to win the club basketball national championship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They took down Boston College on a buzzer-beating layup. We got sent a video that was captured, but we were unable to put it into today's show. But wish we could have done that, but unfortunately it couldn't happen. So, congratulations to UConn as well.
Moving on to the North Atlantic, you got Penn State moving on. Penn State there last year, first round tournament last in the national championship last year, so they're probably got a chip on their shoulder and looking to do some damage again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. The championship game between Albany was a close one to start. Penn State kind of pulled away there at the end, but yeah, back-to-back North Atlantic regional champions. So hopefully they can make it past first round this year.
Florida State UCLA taking home the Pacific Regional. Obviously, we're really excited to have the Pacific back in the NCBBA for this year. Take us through that tournament.
So UCLA beat Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, who was the Pacific North Conference champion, and then USC Cardinal barely squeaks out a win over GCU Purple, who was the Pacific East Conference champion. And then actually another buzzer beater, game-winning shot UCLA hit in the final seconds to take down Cardinal.
Nice. And then last but not least, we have Florida State coming out of the South Atlantic. Looks like a really good tournament there as well.
Yeah, so unfortunately Wake could not make it either, so we had to do a little bit of reseeding there. Florida State ended up getting the bye, and Coastal Carolina takes down Auburn in the first round. And then Florida State wins by 9 there.
That brings us to our national championship bracket. As you see there, we got UCLA, the top dog, heading in with the number 1 seed. But take us through this bracket. What do you think? What do you think about this? Are you excited to see some of these teams play?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen Xavier. The Happy Valley Fall Tip-Off. Saw Penn State this past weekend, saw UConn at the Happy Valley Fall Tip-Off as well. So those other 5 teams, I'm really looking forward to seeing them compete with some of these other teams I've already seen before. But yeah, very excited. Looking forward to meeting everybody, seeing everybody compete coming out.
And I think, Boston College and Penn State are the only 2 returners from last year, right?
Yeah, yep. Everybody else, big shakeup this season.
Yeah, it's great. Some big names, some big programs, especially basketball programs you see up there. So it should be exciting. Really excited to see this national championship taking place at Haggerty Event Center in Erie, PA. April 21st is when we tip that off. We'll also have the All-Star game and skills competition on the 22nd. We'll crown a champion on the 23rd, correct?
Yep.
Looking forward to that, and stay tuned to the NCBBA men's website, social media for updates and things of that nature for the national championship tournament. Any housekeeping items for the rest of the league, things to keep in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone, renewal LPAs are out. They're also on the website. So make sure you guys can take care of that stuff before you go away for the summer. Make it a little easier on you for the beginning of next season. If you still owe, there's a few of them out there. If you still owe dues and performance bonds, you know who you are. Please get those taken care of ASAP. We've been following up with you constantly about that stuff. And then just as far as national championship teams, just a reminder, as you guys know, make sure you're getting your hotels booked, making sure you're checking your rosters online, making sure all that information is correct, providing me with your coaches. As you know, if you don't provide me with any coaches, they will not be permitted to sit on the bench with you during the national championship, entering your players for the skill competition, things like that. So just making sure you're staying on top of all that stuff. We do have deadlines in place, so want to make sure that nobody forgets about any of that stuff.
Good stuff, Matt. We're looking forward to the national championship here in a few weeks. And with that being said, let's move on to the women's. Follow the same schedule, so a big weekend for women's basketball. Let's get Alec Verhoff, the director of women's basketball operations, on the line. There he is. Alec, welcome to Suite 301. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm sure you heard Matt's description of this past weekend with all the regional tournaments happening. Same thing happens on the women's side. Before we get into those regionals, let's start with the top 15 poll.
Yeah, and like most of the season, we have a new number one here. On this last poll, Ohio State, they jumped in front of, I believe it was Boston College, who was number one last time. But it's basically been back and forth between Ohio State, Boston College, Villanova, and UMass all being number one. But Boston College comes in right behind them just by 1 point there. And then you see Nevada, they got a first place vote, which is pretty exciting for them. So yeah, that's the last top 15 until after the national championship, and we'll have a champion crowned for the next one.
Beautiful. Let's get into some regional tournaments. Let's start with that Great Lakes regional tournament. Not a big shocker, Ohio State pulling that one out.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's been dominant all season. They beat Michigan State pretty handily. They had a good matchup against Grand Valley State. I believe that's the second time they beat them this season. I think they faced each other in the fall tip-off. Congratulations to Ohio State. They are back-to-back Great Lakes regional champs.
And they'll, like Penn State, they got a chip on their shoulder, looking to dethrone Boston College in the national championship tournament. But congratulations to the Buckeyes for winning that regional. Moving on to the Mid-America, we see SIUE taking home the Mid-America regional tournament.
Yeah, and Washington St. Louis is a brand new team this season, so I was excited to see them make it. And they played 2 close games against SIUE. They actually split with them in the regular season, so it was a good matchup. That first game came down to the final shot, and then second game only decided by 6 points. So they gave SIUE a run for their money.
Good stuff. Mid-Atlantic, we see Penn winning the tournament, but unable to compete, and Villanova taking their place, correct?
Correct. Yep. So Penn, they actually another matchup that split during the regular season. Villanova took that game 1, and Penn kind of had their backs against the walls. They come out and they won that second game by 1, and then they came out. They won game 3 on Sunday and pulled off the upset.
The North Atlantic region, we're seeing Nittany Lions both at the men's and women's tournament once again this year. Penn State taking home the North Atlantic regional, defeating Cortland.
Yep, it was the North Atlantic East. They came out and they them and Penn State and Cortland both. They showed why that East Conference is so strong.
The New England region, Boston College are defending champs, winning the regional tournament and having the opportunity to do back-to-back national championships.
Yeah, and we got the matchup in that regional championship game that I think we've been waiting for all season between Boston College and UMass. Both of them, UMass came into it undefeated. Boston College had only lost that one game. They've gone back and forth in the polls, so it was a good matchup. Excited to see that one play out, and Boston College came out on top.
And Coastal Carolina winning the South Atlantic championship, but a team that's not able to compete in the tournament, correct?
Correct. Yep, they will not be at the tournament, but still, that's a big upset win. I think Kennesaw State took every game from them in the regular season. They came out, they won that first game by 17 points, and then Coastal came back and they took the next 2 to become regional champs.
Awesome. And then Nevada Reno. Really excited to see them coming out of the first-year program. Correct me if I'm wrong, but coming out of the Pacific region.
Yep. Very excited for them. Don't let those forfeits fool you. They definitely earned their way in here into the national championship. They're 13-0 in the season, undefeated. I think their average margin of victory is between 30 and 35 points. So they're a very good team.
Looking forward to seeing them compete, and that brings us to the national championship bracket on the women's side of things. Some familiar faces with Ohio State, Penn State, and Boston College. But yeah, looking forward to seeing the Nevada play Villanova, UMass. Any matchups you're excited to see? Opening round.
I think that Boston College Villanova matchup is going to be a really good one. I know Villanova lost in their regional, but they still deserve to be there. They were 16-3 on the season. They lost 2 out of 3 to Penn, but they went 2-3 against them throughout the whole season. So they're a very good team. And I would also say that Nevada and UMass matchup is going to be a really good one. Like I said, UMass only 1 loss in the season, Nevada undefeated. So those are a couple that I'm really looking forward to.
Awesome. Yeah, should be a really exciting time in Erie, Pennsylvania with the men's and women's tournaments going on at the same time. Any housekeeping items that women's teams need to be on the lookout for?
Same type of things that Matt touched on. Renewal LPAs are out, so make sure to get those in before you leave for the summer. Makes it a lot easier on everybody. If you do still owe anything, make sure to pay that. All-American forms, in the past we haven't been great about getting a lot of submissions, so please give your players that recognition and get those forms submitted. And then for the national championship teams, the big thing I would say is to make sure to get those hotels booked. We do have a pretty strict deadline on that, and we don't want that block to run out on you. So make sure to get that taken care of as soon as possible.
Well, awesome, Alec. Great work on the basketball side, women's basketball side of things. We will see you next week, but we'll certainly see you in Erie, PA for the national championship tournament. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back to talk NCBA.
The Game is the official headwear sponsor for Cold Club Sports. They offer our team's quality headwear, such as hats, visors, boonies, and beanies for a great low price. All items are customizable to meet our team's needs. Contact Felicia.Battaglia at coldclubsports.com for all of your headwear needs.
Rawlings is the proud uniform, equipment, and ball sponsor of the National Club Baseball and Softball Associations. Teams receive up to 45% off on all their orders. For more information, including catalogs and price quotes, contact our front office today.
Welcome back to Suite 301. We're going to jump right into it. Let's talk baseball with Director of Division II Baseball Operations, Jimmy Henderson, on set with us. Let's jump right into it. We're right in the middle of the NCBA seasons right now, D1, D2, D3. Why don't you take us through both the D1 and D2 top 20?
Yeah.
20s.
20s and D3. Starting off with D1 here, not much of a shakeup, though. The big jump here is University of Oregon. After attending Spring to Spring, Nevada, they are 7-0, and I'm sure they have plenty of games left to play. As I know, Regional Director Dave Stahl, he works on the D2 and the D1 side out there. Just a lot of weather, a lot of makeups. So they got plenty of time to go, but sit at number 4 right now.
Welcome to club sports, man. That's weather hasn't been fun for the outdoor sports, that's for sure.
No, basketball much easier on that side, right?
Yes.
But something, not much of a shakeup, but something that surprised me: Virginia Tech falling down to 15 from number 6.
Whoa!
So I dug into that, and they took 2 or 3 from Virginia and Maryland. So. Apparently that's tough crowd out there. They need to sweep all 3 to stay up there in the number 6.
Yeah, that is surprising. I'm glad you did some investigative work on that.
Detective.
But that also maybe puts a chip on their shoulder and say, all right, well, we're gonna make them more determined when they get out there and play. But certainly nice to see. You got some West Coast teams out there. Cal Poly, who lost in the national championship game, sitting atop there.
Remaining at number 1. And I want to shout out your Utah State Utes. You said
the Aggies.
I think last time that they were your number 1 pick.
They have been since the beginning, yeah.
They sit at 7-0, and they just 4-0 at Swinging to Spring, Nevada. So they're still looking strong.
So how is Oregon and Utah State undefeated? Didn't they play each other?
That I don't know.
I believe they did. I think I saw something online that Utah State, in fact, beat Oregon.
I got these notes from Aaron.
All right. Yeah, he's that's the problem. That's for sure the problem. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff going on in the NCBA. I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of shakeups in that top 20 moving forward. But why don't we go into D2?
Division 2 poll, Grand Canyon still sits at the top. They actually clinched their playoff spot this past weekend by sweeping San Diego State. So no big surprise there. They're defending national champions. We'll see them again in the regionals and see if they can make another trip to Illinois.
All right, man.
Ohio State, big jump from number 8 to number 2. They sit at 15-0 on the year, and they are also only a couple games away from clinching their playoff spot. Georgia Southern at number 3 sits at 15-2. Same idea. They're 1 or 2 wins away. And Central Florida, kind of keeping the theme here, they jumped from 17 to number 8. Their record is 13-2, and just I think 1 went away from a game against rival Florida.
Okay. All right. Let's get into some key matchups. We got a lot of big matchups coming up. We're right in the heart of the season. We got regionals not too far in the distance, so this is whenever the rubber meets the road and put up or show up. Is that the term?
Yeah, that's the term.
So big games on the D1 side coming up. I'm assuming this upcoming weekend. Why don't you take us through those?
Yeah, Clemson and South Carolina facing off in the South Atlantic East. Clemson probably needs a minimum of 2 of 3 and maybe all 3 to overtake the South Atlantic East Conference there. Nebraska and Kansas in the Mid-America South, sitting at 1-2 and undefeated. Whoever comes out on top of that series will be in the driver's seat. And then last but not least, back to Virginia Tech in the Mid-Atlantic North. They sit at the top of their conference, but a series loss to William & Mary will shake that up.
Whoa. Let's go. All right. On the D2 side of things, what do you think?
D2 side, we don't have a lot of conference games going on this weekend.
Easter weekend.
Easter, yeah,
Yep.
people traveling and all of that type of stuff. 2 teams that are ranked that are going to play against D1 competition, number 13 Eastern Michigan going to Michigan Division I, and number 6 Grand Valley State going to Adrian. So all 4 Michigan teams in play there.
Nice.
But we do have a big conference matchup, one of the few.
Top 20.
Number 14 Arkansas at number 17 Washington St. Louis. Whoever wins that series is in the driver's seat of the Great American North, and we'll be sitting pretty as the top 2 teams in that conference will be going to regionals.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Let's look at D3. Again, not a lot going on. 2 games.
Easter.
District
3 West, number 4 Saginaw Valley, and Loyola Chicago. They both need a little bit of help. They're chasing Oakland. But, again, a 3-0 weekend here will keep them in Oakland's rearview mirror to overtake the top spot.
Okay. You mentioned Grand Canyon. They clinched their spot in the postseason. You also got Fordham as well, huh?
Fordham, yep. Fordham in the New England South swept Hofstra this past weekend.
Okay.
And they have clinched their spot.
All right. Well, great. Congratulations to those 2 teams. Are they joining anybody, or are those the first 2
Those
clinchers?
are the first 2 clinchers.
Okay. All right.
Should hopefully some more after this weekend.
Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. And I'm assuming no clinchers on the D3 or D1 side?
No,
Not
not to
yet.
my knowledge
Okay.
anyway.
All right. Well, a lot of work to do, I guess, in the baseball side of things. Any housekeeping items teams should be looking out for?
Big item is going to be the roster freeze. That's April 15th. That is a hard deadline. So if there's any players or students that have been practicing with you or thinking about joining, you guys have less than 2 weeks to get those in. Same idea as when you turn in your rosters, need an academic form. They got to clear all other eligibilities. And there's no exceptions on the April 15th deadline. Once midnight hits, that rosters are closed.
All right. I think, are we heading back out to Alec? I think we just we wrapped up. We alluded to some big games out in the swing into spring in Henderson. Let's go back out to Alec, talk to him a little bit about that event. Alec, welcome back, and why don't you take us through the swing into spring out in Henderson? How'd that event go? You were there. Some big games happening out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll clear the air since you guys butchered what happened out there with the work and everything. But no, we did have some big matchups out there. I'll go through some of the teams I think that impressed me the most. I think San Diego State, they came out there. They were unbelievable. San Diego State, they averaged 18 runs per game. They whooped up on Oregon, who was number 4 at that time, beat them 22-4. So
Jeez.
San Diego State came out really impressive. Utah State, another really impressive one. Their top 5 team or whatever it was, and they came out. They were 4-0. They beat Arizona State. They beat Oregon. They played a lot of good baseball. And what's really impressive about Utah State is I think a lot of the teams were saving their best pitchers for them. So they had a target on their back, World Series team last year, top 5 team, and everybody wanted to give them their best, and they still came out undefeated. So, good for them. Awesome group of guys. Happy for them. GCU, another one. They were 3-0. They beat every team pretty handedly, I think. Very impressive squad. That was GCU D1. And then Arizona State, another impressive one. They were 4-1. Their only loss was to Utah State, who whooped up on everybody, but they played a lot of good baseball too. A big one also is Oregon. Oregon came out and they were 1-3. They didn't have the best week out there. I think it was one of their first few times probably stepping on a baseball field, I would imagine. So I would definitely look for them to bounce back.
Wow, that sounds like, some juggernauts really playing out there. Grand Canyon, Oregon, Utah State. So a lot of good competition out there. I know you're all wrapped up out there, but it's never too early to start thinking about it for next year. How many teams do we have out there this year?
We had 17 teams out there this year, which is up from 11 the year before. So
that's awesome.
We played 34 games across 6 days, so we got a lot of baseball in. Awesome.
And any teams that are interested in going Henderson, that facility's great. And you're right outside Vegas, so I'm sure the teams had some fun going down to the Strip. But even Oregon going 1-3, their non-conference games, not going to have any real impact on them making the postseason, and it's an opportunity to get the rust off, knock all that rust off, so that when you do get into the conference season, you're playing at your best. So it has a lot of benefits, both on the East Coast down in Panama City Beach and obviously out in Henderson. So if you're a West Coast-based team and can't make it out to Panama City Beach, we have the Henderson event for you to certainly take advantage of. It seems like it keeps growing from 11 to 17, so great job, Alec, on that end of it. And, you get some great competition out there too. So anything else about that event that needs to be talked about?
No, I don't think so. Looking forward to getting back out there next year. And like you said, any team that's interested, we'd love to keep growing. If anybody hears this, they're interested, let me know. Happy to get you more information.
Beautiful. Great job, Alec. We'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Let's get right into it. Let's wrap this puppy up. Last thing we have is softball talk, and I'm going to toss that to you. Why don't you talk softball, bud?
Yeah, good idea.
That is my domain. I'm losing my spot. Let's talk about some key matchups. I'm actually looking at, we didn't have really like baseball, this being the Easter weekend, not a ton of games happening. So I looked at the week after, April 15th, 16th, which is week 31 on the softball schedule.
Proactive.
Yes. Big matchups here. Most notably, number 8 versus number 18, Georgia versus Clemson. Georgia undefeated in conference at this point. Clemson 2 losses. But as you were talking about, Clemson, takes 3 from Georgia. They're in the driver's seat atop the standings. So a big conference series for them, both those teams. Iowa State and Iowa. Iowa State at number 20, Iowa. 2 teams that, depending on how that shakes out, a conference winner will probably be decided. Then number 6 and number 4, this is a big one too. Look at that, 2 top 10 teams going at it. Number 6, Michigan. Number 4, Michigan State. I believe Michigan State undefeated at 9-0. Michigan at 10-2, I believe. So Michigan could do some damage if they pick up 2-3 wins. So that's a exciting series to be on the lookout for. And then number 14, Navy at Maryland. Maryland's been struggling to get games in this year, but I believe they're at 6-0. Navy at I want to say 11-2. So 2 teams that are atop the standings, and how that series plays out will certainly have a big impact on who the conference winner is and who the runner-up in that conference is, and potentially up for an at-large bid. So a lot of big key matchups coming up week 31. Keep our fingers crossed we get some great weather from here on out. As far as playoff clinchers go, We have a few more that have clinched, and we might even have a couple more that aren't on this list. I have to check the standing scores are still coming in from this past weekend, but University of Connecticut, University of Maine, University of Wisconsin, Arkansas State, and Rutgers have all clinched spots in their in the postseason, winning their respective conferences. So congratulations to those teams. As always, all those teams are listed on the regionals page. Those teams should be booking their hotel rooms at the host hotels that we have set up. So get on that if you are not on that. As far as housekeeping items go, same thing as baseball. We want to make sure that you guys are getting your the league participation agreements in, your registration forms submitted. Those have all been emailed out, and those have been slowly trickling in. Certainly, a good reminder is to get the signatures on those forms before you leave for school. So you have to have a faculty representative sign off on the LPA. It's much easier to get that signature while you're on campus. So something to think about. All-American forms will be also sent out. We also will be doing academic All-Americans on the softball side of things. So be on the lookout for those forms. We're really in deep with the schedule. I believe with this weekend, there's only 3 weekends left in the regular season, and then we're getting into regionals. So lots of stuff going on, but make sure to check your emails regularly, as a lot of important information will be coming out to teams in the coming days and weeks. I think that's it, Jimbo.
That's all you got?
Yep. Why don't you take us home? Take us home.
That's our show. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sweet 301. As always, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
Our next episode is going to be April 18th at 3:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on Facebook Live. Join us to catch up on everything that's happening around Call Club Sports. It's a game.
Have fun.